Hi, I'm Jim Bagby. I'm running for District 4 County Commissioner in Walton County, Florida.
Yeah, so thanks so much for coming on the show with us, Jim. A lot of people in this race, but I figured it'd be kind of good to start with who you are, where you're from, what you've done, and why you're running for Walton County Commissioner in District 4.
Okay. I am Jim Bagby, as I said. I am from East Texas originally. I grew up between Tyler and Longview, enlisted in the Army, got the opportunity to go to the West Point Prep School, went to West Point, graduated in 1982, and was commissioned as second lieutenant and retired in 2003 while I was working at Hurlburt Field. So I've been all over. We lived in Germany for 4 years. I've served in Kuwait. We lived in Georgia. We lived in Kentucky. We lived in Mississippi. We lived in Texas. There's probably another one in there. My wife's made about 13 homes in the 17 or 18 years that we were married that we were still in. So, Louisiana, we met in Louisiana. So that was the other one, I think.
So
The,
go
yeah.
ahead. I was going to ask, just like, what was your favorite base?
My favorite base was probably either Fort Polk, which I know sounds unusual because I haven't met a lot of people that love Fort Polk, Louisiana. But I was a young lieutenant. We spent about 220 days out in the field learning our craft, learning our trade, and it was just an amazing experience. A wonderful organization. I'm still friends with folks from that organization today. My brother-in-law was our mortar platoon leader. The guy that he lives down in the retreat, Bill Graves, was our engineer officer for our task force, and just real close friends. Just an amazing organization. The so I would say that one or Fort Knox. We were at Fort Knox. Well, we were at Fort Knox. I was at Fort Knox a couple of times, but my wife and I, our youngest child, daughter, Jennifer, was born there. We lived there from 91, late 91 to 94. It's the only place we lived on base for the last year after I got promoted to major. We lived there. I went there. I was the chief of leadership for the Mounted Warfare School. Then I was the chief of training for the Mounted Warfare School. And then I was a small group instructor. So I taught tactics and to captains, the captain's career course. It's changed names now, but it used to be the advanced course. And then after I got promoted, I was responsible for 4 small group instructors. And we had both our kids. The last year we lived on base, Kentucky was beautiful, and living on the 4th hole of the golf course there, just down the road from the bullion depository.
Okay.
It was fine.
So the one thing I know about Fort Knox, right, is the gold bullion. But my dad, we would always watch the James Bond movies, and there's one
Yeah.
James Bond movie where what is it, like Goldfinger or somebody?
Goldfinger.
Yeah, where he decides he's going to take over Fort Knox and move all the stuff out. And that is my only experience with it.
Yeah.
And I always wondered if it was actually, like people say, it's hard to break into as Fort Knox. Like, is it hard to break into? Can you get in there?
No, you can't get in there. I toyed with the idea of I could probably tunnel. It wasn't that far from the house. Now I'd have to work every night, but it wasn't worth the risk.
So
And
what you're telling me is it's doable though.
well, I know one person. I worked with the commander of Fort Knox, and I know he went in because he went in once a year to quote verify that the gold was still there. Now I don't know that the gold was still there, but he went in once a year. I don't
Okay.
know what they did, if they even showed him the gold. So I hope it's still there.
It reminds me of that rule in Deuteronomy where they had the priest go into the temple and check with God, and then kind of they had a thing around and pull him out in case he was in trouble or something of that nature.
Yeah.
But switching a little bit gears from
Sure.
the almighty and gold, I figured we talk about how you have a lot of people. This is starting to get to be a crowded race. There's three people, and all
Right.
three of these candidates, it's very rare. All three have prior elected experience. One was
Yes.
county commissioner over in Santa Rosa County. Of course, Donna Johns is the incumbent county commissioner, and
Right.
you've been the city councilman for Destin for, I think, 4 terms, if I'm not mistaken.
4 terms. We have term limits, so I was there for 2, then I was off for 7. I wasn't going to go back till we went through our 4th city manager in 5 years, and a bunch of people came to me and said, "Please, we're in trouble. Come help us." And I was like, "Okay."
So
Because
you have some experience with having high turnover in leadership positions, then. Like
yes,
you fixed that, I should say.
yes.
So tell me a little bit about, and this is kind of jumping all over the place on my map, but getting people to keep a county administrator in position. I mean, you wrote on the supervisor of elections website, we've had 9 county administrators, if you count Stan Sunday twice in the last
Right.
8 years. What does that do to an organization?
Well, it's horrible for an organization. You have to have steady leadership. You have to give them a chance to develop their team. And it was 9 since Mike Atkinson got elected sheriff, because he was the one that actually pointed that out to me. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't realize it had been that many, but then when he and I were going back through the names, I was like, oh yeah, because there were a couple of them that lasted. I think one lasted a month, and then one lasted a few months. But that is one of the worst things you can do with an organization. And so I'm hopeful that Brian will kind of calm the waters here. And he's a good guy. I hired him when I was at the TDC, brought him into the county. Great guy. When I can't even remember what he did, but I remember he'd been there like a month or 2, and people were calling me up going, I trusted you. You said he was a great guy, and then he did this. And I was like, okay, number one, he's been there 2 months. Number two, let him build his team, because that's what it takes to be successful in an organization, whether it's a city or a county. The executive, which is what the county administrator is, has to build his team. He had to find a deputy. He had to, figure out what to do when Mac left as the planning director. He had to surround himself with folks and train them and develop them. So I told everybody, in 6 months, if you're still this unhappy, come back to me, call me, and I'll be willing to listen to you. But we've got to give him a chance to build his team. I think they're on the right track. I think he's doing a great job. We'll see. There are probably a couple of things I would have done differently, but everybody is like that. My wife would probably change a lot of things I've done in my life, but that's just the nature of being a leader.
So back to this competition that you're facing, you guys all
Right.
have this experience. What makes you different than Donna Johns and James Calkins?
Well, I think this is going to be a change election. So it's real simple. What kind of change do you want? If you don't want change, then you should vote for Donna Johns. You know what she's done the last 4 years. The next 4 years are not going to be any different. The past is prelude. So that's not my experience. What I found knocking on doors and walking and talking with people, they want change. I think it's going to be a tough year for incumbents, but that's just my read. Then it gets to a question of, if you want change, what kind of change do you want? I believe I am the people's candidate, and I believe Mr. Calkins is the developer's candidate. Rick Olson, you may not remember him. He's the one that got Driftwood entitled and then sold off all his plans to Adams Homes and others, which caused a lot of stormwater issues and a lot of other issues out in Driftwood Estates. Those are the folks that he's worked with, that he's aligned with. That's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, if you want more development or development like that, then you need to vote for him. I'm the person that's been invested in this county for over 20 years, working on numerous committees, boards, working at the TDC, town manager of Rosemary Beach. My strengths are I know how to solve problems. I know how to build teams, successful teams, because I've been fortunate enough to be on a lot of successful teams. I know how to mentor and train folks to help them achieve the objectives. So I would say if you want change, I'm your person. If you want the kind of change that I hope to bring, which is a more functional county government, number one, and number two, one where we learn to ask the right questions, because no offense, but we've been kicking a lot of these cans down the road for 15, 20 years, whether it's the beach issue or whether it's the driftwood drainage issue or whether it's the road through the forest issue or whether it's, not enough infrastructure for the growth in our county. And we need to, as I tell folks, stop fighting and start fixing, because one of the candidates, they want to fight, and we're all good Republicans, we're all good conservatives, we're all good people, we're all good Christians. We want what's best for the people of Walton County. I believe that with all my heart, that all three of us want the best thing. The problem is I have a plan on each of those issues to achieve a result that I think everybody can live with.
So you say in a lot of your campaign literature and on your website, you want to change the land development code. And so
Yes.
to somebody that's not familiar with what the land development code is and maybe is going to have their eyes glaze over if we talk about the nitty gritty of it, what is the outcome that you hope to achieve by changing this land development code? What will people say? Oh, Jim Bagby, he was elected and he was successful because X, Y, and Z. What is X, Y, and Z?
Well, the first thing, we have a comprehensive plan, and I don't want to get real deep in the weeds on planning, but you have a comprehensive plan that the county approves. The land development code is the how-to manual, for lack of a better term. So it takes, and it's got to align with comprehensive plan, and then everything kind of flows from there. Right now, we brought in DPZ. They gave us an updated comprehensive plan, but we have not adopted and approved the amendments to the comprehensive plan. So there is a disconnect between our governing document, the comprehensive plan, and our execution document, which is the land development code. And too often in the county, the developers have taken advantage of that disconnect. They look at the two documents and go, which one gives me the most rights that I can cram as many houses as possible into this 2 or 10 or 50 acres. So we need to approve the comprehensive plan. I know Stephen's working on that, but we need to work faster, because until you finalize that, until you pass those amendments, the land development code is just chasing the comprehensive plan. Land development code, we need to rewrite the land development code. There's a lot of things that are missing from the land development code. And we have had, in my opinion, way too many director determinations in the last 10, 15 years. It was written, I think, on purpose to be vague. And so we need to provide some specificity so you or me or a developer or anybody else in this county can take it and say, okay, here's my lot. This is what I'm entitled to build. I can build, here's the setbacks, here's the height restrictions, here's the stormwater, all that. And they can read clearly what is allowed to be built. Because right now it's, and I won't say half the time because I don't know the exact figure, but too often it gets bumped up to the development director or community development director. And it's like, you can do that. And the perception, and I'm not saying this is true or not because I haven't been in those meetings, but the perception is if you were friends with the director, you pretty much got what you wanted and you could get it in a very timely manner. If you weren't friends with the director, then it could take you 8 months, a year, 2.5 years. I know one development's been working for 2.5 years, and on some really silly stuff. I know when I was walking through Emerald Bay, the Walton County part of Emerald Bay. Guy's telling me about his neighbor who's been trying to get a lanai, a screen in structure for his back patio for 8 months. That's just insane. So yes, we have to establish the rules. We have to approve the rules. They have to apply to everybody. They have to be clear, and they're not. And a lot of the frustration is the overdevelopment of parcels of land in Walton County. And 10 years ago, when it was just all in South Walton, people were just like, yeah, that's okay. You guys, it's too bad to be y'all and live down there. Now that it's exploding around Freeport, and the people up into Funiac Springs, and Mossy Head, and Paxton, and other places see what's happening in Freeport, they are, and I believe rightfully so, afraid that they're just the next, item on the menu. And now there's an urgency to stop this overdevelopment of the county and have kind of a plan.
So would you say at the end of the first, theoretical Bagby term, you would have a fully rehashed land development code? You'd have clear and simple rules that even the layman, a dummy like me, can understand and follow. What are the other discrete examples that you would give to people as Jim Bagby's first term was a success?
Okay, so here's my metrics for me for a first term. Number one, we get the comprehensive plan approved. We get the land development code updated and synchronized with the comprehensive plan. That's one metric. Number two, we have additional ball fields for our kids. We have, I believe one of the commissioners said at the last meeting, 18 ball fields, sports fields for the kids in Walton County. 18 for a population of about 90,000 people. That's not enough. That's not even close to being enough. So I would say either buy more land, and I've got some ideas for that I've discussed with several people. Build those ball fields, give our kids a place to play, to have an alternative to just hanging out, being on their phones, doing drugs, whatever. Give them an alternative. That would be a metric. I would say a beach nourishment, although I believe it's probably going to take 3 to 5 years to get it done. It'll probably take longer because I'm sure it'll get hamstrung by litigation, because that's kind of how we roll in Walton County. But 3 to 5 years, we ought to have all our permits. We ought to have all the core samples done. We ought to have the beach profile identified. We ought to have the borrow pits. We ought to have the quality of the sand on our current beaches, all identified, just waiting for the court to say, yes, you can go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. And the money from Tallahassee, because that's always a key part that people forget. They think, oh, you got $70 million in the county's beach nourishment fund. Yeah, that's the match. That's the county's match portion to do that project. So you have to get, and we have a very small window where our state senator, Jay Trumbull, is going to be president of the state senate. Mm-hmm. And for those 2 years, if he wants something, he usually gets it. I remember when Senator Gates was the Senate president, and I remember when the Florida Speaker of the House was from Panama City, and they got that huge flyover. So things, when you're the leader of one of those two houses, your area seems to get stuff. So I would say that would be a metric. I'm not saying it will be done but I will say we will be a lot closer on getting it done. And then I would say infrastructure and transportation improvements. I was talking with somebody yesterday who actually has the largest aggregate source in the Southeast.
Okay. Provides
all the aggregate for FDOT from Escambia County to Panama City. And he said, yeah, we had a deal where we worked out with Okaloosa County. We would provide the aggregate and put the aggregate down, and then they would pave it. They have, just like we do, some paving teams. Last year, he said they put down 200 miles. In fact, they were so efficient at a discounted cost, a deeply discounted cost for Okaloosa County. They paved, or they put the aggregate down for 200 miles. They put so much down that the county actually had to go out and get a third person, a third party, a contractor to come in and assist their paving folks with paving all the roads. This year, there's only 30 miles left that they're working on. I talk to folks, I drive up in the north end of the county. I went to one of my supporters' house who had requested a sign. I mean, you could see where the water had washed out part of the road to his house. It was just a sandy dirt trail. And I'm thinking, why can't we fix this? There's so many things that need fixing that we haven't. And it's not money, because this county, Lord knows, has more than enough money. It's a lack of leadership. It's a lack of, with the respect to the sports fields, we've owned that property down there for, I think, 7 years. We've had plans for the ball fields that they approved at the last meeting for 4 or 5 years. It was a lack of making it a priority, and I'm going to make those priority.
Moving on to talking a little bit about donors now. This is probably one of the more uncomfortable ones, but the question we have, from a lot of people that I've been asked to ask is, we say on your website, and let me get it exactly, the quote.
Okay, sure.
Where is it? You say that our campaign relies on the community that we seek to serve, and if that's the case, I see mostly $1,000 donations. I see donations over $250, $350. So what is the layman supposed to take from that? I mean, that's a lot of money to be putting on the table for a donation. So what conclusion should the average everyday man draw from the size of those donations?
That most of my donors are business people, and most of them are older, like me. And so they have, over their 50 years or whatever, have amassed a savings. I've got one developer who's donated to me, Reynolds Henderson. I'm sure you saw the name. It's all public record. I've known Reynolds for over 20 years. I have an immense amount of respect for him. I like him personally, like his family personally. He and I fought like cats and dogs on the axe the tax issue because he wanted it. And it wasn't that I didn't see a need for additional funding for infrastructure projects. I just didn't trust the county commission that we had in place to oversee the expenditure and the prioritization of the expenditure of those funds. And I think the citizens of Walton County supported my view. I have a lot of tourism related businesses, so they have their businesses, whether it's Tim Taylor or Jeannie Daly or her daughter Tiffany or others. So those are a lot. I have my college roommate who lives, in the area. He provided me $1,000. I've got Chuck Merkel, who I think gave me $50. Dr. Merkel heads the West Point Society of Northwest Florida. He's retired. He's on a fixed income. So yes, he didn't give $1,000, but everybody there I've either worked with, worked for, so people know me, or they're close friends either from college. I've got, I think, Dr. Dave Blackwell, who he and I went to West Point Prep School together. He's now the head of Mama Business School at South Florida. So yeah, I can tell you a deep dive into every single person who's given me a penny. I knew getting into this race, number one, I didn't think Donna was going to run, but she is, or it appears that she is. I knew from Mr. Calkins' last campaign in 2024 in Santa Rosa County, he raised $177,000. I knew I don't have $177,000 to put in a campaign, so I knew I was going to have to raise a lot of money. And so I've tried to do that. I've tried to balance raising money and knocking on doors. That's pretty much, and going to meetings or having interviews like we're doing now. That's pretty much all I do all day long, is ask people, will you please give me your vote, or will you please donate to my campaign?
Absolutely.
So yeah.
So moving on to the beachfront, which I think is probably the
Hmm.
question that everybody has been silently yelling, or not silently yelling, but typing in the chat comments, like, why haven't you asked about customary use yet?
Yeah.
Um, Customary use, where are you on this? And what would you do if you were a county commissioner? I mean, this is one of those things where it's at the state, but you have some, level. I mean, you guys can sue, right? It's been done in the past. So what would you do? What would you do in regards to this situation?
Well, we can't sue because Commissioner Johns, Commissioner Gladwell, and Commissioner Anderson voted to approve the settlement agreement,
Mm-hmm.
which was with prejudice. So they can't sue to go back and try to get a do-over for customary use. And I think that's outrageous. At least two of them, you know, stood up there on the dais and beat their chest that they would spend no matter how much it costs. And obviously they wouldn't spend no matter how much it costs. On customary use, I'm all in favor of customary use. The only thing is it only applies I think 95 parcels now.
Mm-hmm.
So we should, and I'm sure each one of those parcels has a different story. So we need to figure out what they are or what those stories are, and then we need to move for customary use on those 95 parcels. On the other 1,100 parcels or almost 1,100 parcels, beach nourishment is the solution. Is 90% of the solution. Buying additional beachfront is part of the solution. We've bought two good-sized parcels in Destin while I was on the city council in Crystal Beach. So I think that's part of the solution. Customary use, I'm not sure why people, because I've seen the same blogs or posts or whatever that you're referencing. The county commission killed it. And I know I was talking to somebody who I think's a real smart guy, and he says, well, no, an individual could sue for customary use. Yeah, what I'm told by the lawyers, and I'm not an attorney, is that individual might have standing on an individual parcel, i.e. they walked down to the end of their street and went to that parcel for the last 30 years. Because I think we're very clear that through at least 1990, according to Dr. Miller's report, customary use existed. The question is from about 1990, 1995 to current day, when people started putting up gates and people started putting up signs and lines and all this other silly stuff that they've been doing, whether or not it applies. Customary use is not an option for the county on over 1,000 parcels. Again, if you want to issue, you can stand up there and you can yell customary use to the top of your lungs. I don't want an issue. I want a solution. And the solution is a beach nourishment project.
And so, in the meantime, what do we tell, if I had $1 for every time somebody sent me a screenshot of a post where some Backstreet Boy or NSYNC, I don't know, whichever pop band from the late 90s,
Yeah.
guy is angry and he's done something, and then, the message is, I can't believe you guys don't want us here. We pay your bills, kind of thing. How do we tell the tourist back in Kansas City or in Louisville or wherever, hey, like, we want you to be here and we're working on this situation? How do we message that if you are a county commissioner?
Well, I think there's a couple things we can do. Number one, we need to pass an ordinance that says there can be, for safety purposes, there cannot be any signs or any poles or any whatever within 50 feet of the wet sand. So get those signs moved all the way back so that, because it is not illegal to walk up and down the beach. It is not illegal to stand in the surf and fish. It is not illegal to do a lot of things that customary use covers, even in Walton County. Where we have people in conflict, let's just all be nice to each other. Can we just be nice? And it's on both sides. I do know, I managed Rosemary Beach, a beachfront community, for 10 years. There were people there that came, some who were not staying there, some who were staying there, who were digging these monstrous holes and not filling them in during turtle season of all times.
Mm-hmm.
There were people who misbehaved on the beach, for lack of a better term. I managed one sea grove for 7 years, and there were people misbehaving, and that was a public beach. That was old BLM land, just south of One Sea Grove Place. There were people misbehaving down there, and we had security guys that would take their 500,000 watt flashlight or whatever and flash it on them. They would come up and use our bathrooms at One Sea Grove because there were no public bathrooms at that public beach access. So let's just be nice to each other. Let's start there, and let's the county to the beachfront property owners, who I would say get rid of your signs, get rid of your ropes, and I would say to the sheriff, if somebody's digging a hole or trespassing or putting up a tent, really being obnoxious with a sound system that's better than what I have in my house, okay, go make sure they're not on people's private property. But if people just want to walk up and down the beach or sit on the beach, let them. You won. I think part of what some of the beachfront property owners are doing is an overreaction or a reaction to the people walking out. They were afraid they were going to lose the customary use argument because people were traipsing across their beach. And so then they would show, look, 2 weeks ago I was traipsing across that beach. I even sat down in the sand on my towel or in my beach chair or whatever. And so they were so afraid that would be used to justify that they tried to keep everybody out. Most of the beachfront property owners that I've talked with in the community that I represented or led, they don't mind people doing nice things. They are being nice. It's when they become obnoxious and they're throwing their beer cans in the sand or putting their cigarettes or cigars out in the sand or leaving objects in the sand that you wouldn't want your children finding, which I've seen all those things. Let's just be nice to each other. And to the beachfront property owners, you won all but 95 of you won the customary use argument. You got the county commission to yell uncle, and they signed away customary use rights to that beach. So take up all your signs, take up all your poles and all your obstacles, and let's just learn to live together.
One of the biggest things that took place during your last 4 years on the Destin City Council was this whole Noriega Point issue.
Mm-hmm.
A gentleman named Bobby Guidry was
Mm-hmm.
able to sell this land to the state, and then the state said, hey, county/city, we'd like to make this into a park, and a whole hullabaloo ensued.
Yes.
What have you learned that you would like to apply over here in Walton County? Are there lessons that we can learn from how the state handled this and how the county and the city handled this that you would use over here to either, if you're on the let's make sure this never happens again side, then make sure it never happens again, or if you're on the
Mm-hmm.
this was a good idea side, how would you make sure something like this happened over here?
Okay, wasn't a good idea.
I didn't even want to speak for you.
Yeah, that's okay. Let me help you out here. It was a horrible idea. And I think what I learned, if I'm fortunate enough to become a county commissioner, is you have to have total transparency from the county. The county, and in particular, a senior staff member at the county level, oh, don't worry about this. Nothing's happening here, nothing to see here. All the while, he's working with the state, with the DEP to, we'll send you $5 million. The county commissioners didn't even know that they had approved $5 million, up to $5 million for them to manage that parcel. I don't want to get all into the Guidry thing, but the state bought land that they couldn't buy. We physically own, the city of Destin physically owns the road and the parking through that parcel. Now, the state owned the sand because they bought it from Mr. Guidry. which is less than 4 acres, and paid 83 or 84 million dollars for it. That, you know, as angry as it makes me, there's not a lot I can do about it. The state has the right to go buy any parcel and pay whatever the cabinet votes to pay, and they did. And the mechanics of that are convoluted, and I just think wrong in a lot of different ways. But the county trying to, at the behest of the developer, the developers team is the one that actually put in the Florida Forever initial Florida Forever grant. And they put in their application that the county designate the county as the manager, even though that park is completely inside the city limits of Destin.
Got it.
So the county was not transparent. It wasn't honest. It wasn't forthright. And be honest with you, I was very disappointed in the county's performance, and I remain disappointed in the county because they're fighting tooth and nail for whatever reason. I don't know, but the county and Walton County, I've seen them do a lot of things that were not forthright, transparent. People hiring people's brother-in-laws, and small Southern County stuff that really in this day and age we just need to get rid of.
And we would never do that in Texas. So
Never in Texas. No, that's I would
not
hope
us.
Not us.
Anyway, well, Mr. Jim Bagby is running for District 4 County Commissioner in Walton County. Is there anything else you want people to know before I shut off the live stream and allow for the commenters to come in? And by the way, if you want to respond to all the commenters on there, you can. It's open to everybody.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want people to know?
Yeah, I would just say you asked me in the beginning and we never got back to it. Why? And the why is I love Walton County. I've always loved Walton County. The first time I saw Walton County was camped out at Grayton Beach in 1977. And it was the most beautiful place I had ever seen. Now, I grew up out in the country in East Texas, but it's got unlimited potential, but we seem to be trying to mess that up every chance we get. I love Walton County. I want to help Walton County move into the 21st century. I want to help improve our county government, be more responsive to our citizens. But really, I'm just asking you for your support to give me your vote or honor me with your vote and give me a chance to help right this ship.
All right, Jim Bagby, thanks so much for being here with us today. And we're going to end the stream. But as always, if you have comments, put them down there. I'm sure Mr. Bagby will be able to see them. And if there's anything addressed to me, I will respond to it. Until later, we have 2 more lives coming up this week, both for school district positions, I believe. So we will see you then.